What's up, everyone? It's Thomas with Real Broker here in St. Augustine, and I'm here with my buddy
Justin with living in Jacksonville.
And today we're going to go over the overrated, underrated things that we think are here in Florida and also in our local areas. And after that, we're also going to cover the confusion, the conflicting information in the real estate market, and we're also going to cover the state of emergency in Florida and also the weather and the wacky weather we've been having here. So let's get started here. Justin, how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good, man. It's Friday, like we always do these on Friday. So
yeah,
typically Fridays I feel a little bit good. As long as I don't have any work the next day, Saturday, Sunday. If I get the weekend off, got a little bit of work this weekend, but it's not that much. So
yeah, same here. Content days are my favorite days. I gotta say, of all the days I gotta work, maybe it's because I spend time with you.
Oh, that's sweet.
oh
my
gosh.
Well, let's get into overrated, underrated.
Yeah.
On that note,
yep,
pause.
On that note, yep. So go ahead. You want to rock out first?
I'll rock out first with my We'll skip that.
Okay. Wait. We gotta switch this, don't we?
Oh yeah.
You're supposed to ask me, and I'm supposed to ask you.
Yeah. Those are the
Sorry,
ones.
guys. All right. So, all right. Overrated, underrated.
Oh my gosh, I can't. Okay, I can read it. Yeah, barely.
Okay. All right.
I'm kidding. You got some decent handwriting.
You can ask me, and I'm here all day. Overrated and underrated, and I have my opinion on this too. The St. John's Town Center. What do you think?
So the St. John's Town Center, I might get a little bit of hate for this, but I think the St. John's Town Center I don't think it's severely overrated, but I think it is overrated.
Yeah.
And that being the case because I guess like our generation, we didn't necessarily grow up with online shopping, but as adults, it's been a large majority of our adult lives, and I just really enjoy the convenience of online shopping, like shopping on Amazon or just buying things from the stores that are, like, for example, stores that may be at a town center or at a mall, like an H&M or like something like that. You can buy their stuff online.
Yeah.
You don't like it, you can return it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just so much more convenient for me. As far as like it's the St. John's Town Center in general, it's a good little hub to have like a centralized location because, as we've talked about before, downtown Jacksonville isn't all that lively. So the St. John's Town Center kind of is the city hub, if you will, where people kind of go to on the weekends.
Yeah.
How malls used to be back in the day.
Yeah.
So that's one thing about it that's great in the sense that it kind of like centralizes inside of the city and has places to go, places to eat, places to shop, and things like that. But other than that, for me personally, I think it's overrated. I'd rather just, order stuff online, avoid the crowds because it gets kind of crowded. It gets kind of a lot of traffic runs through there on the weekend,
Yep.
And the restaurants out there, there's some good ones. I wouldn't say I'm going to go out of my way to go to any of them on a busy Saturday night or anything.
No, it's not. It's not something you do that for. But it's definitely, our wives would probably disagree. But then again, they're probably doing shopping online and in person. So,
Dude, listen, my wife, I swear to you now, we have to have 3 recycling bins because the amount of Amazon boxes that we go through on a weekly basis is disgusting.
Preaching to the choir.
I mean, my household alone is probably contributing more to climate change than all those cow farts out there,
Yeah. Damn it, Jamie. Yeah, and same here. I mean, we have so much recycling. Like 75% of our household trash, right, is recycling, and it's very frustrating because the expectation is I got to break down all these boxes. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. My gripes on St. John's Town Center is 2 things, right? I only go there one time a year. And that's when I'm panic shopping, right, for the holidays. So it's like,
true.
Yeah, the weekday before Christmas, I'm like, all right, this is my time, and this is where I shine. Honestly, I always get the best gifts. But
you know what? It's funny that you bring that up because the exact same thing for me. Because like if I order like an anniversary gift or a birthday gift for my wife. Mm-hmm. On Amazon, she's going to know what it is, and she's going to see it. There's no fun in that, right?
Yeah.
So I got 2 options. I call my dad up, say, hey, Dad, can you order this for me on Amazon?
Yeah.
I don't know how much I want to rely on that.
Yeah.
So I just go to the town center and find something last minute.
And it's always a mess, like especially during that time from like Thanksgiving on. Whole area is just terrible.
Wild.
I also hate that it's called, it's just confusing in general. Why is it called St. John's Town Center?
I know.
You got 1,000 other names you could have called it. It's in Duval County, first off, so it's not even in St. Johns County. And then in St. Johns County, you have the city of St. John's. So it's like all around doesn't make sense, like for the people that are living here, but everyone knows it as St. John's Town Center. So that's just my little take.
Yeah,
on
I think if you're a Jacksonvillian like me, we just call it the town center. We say the town center, and that everyone knows what you're talking about. But yeah, totally agreed. The name could have been different.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so overrated, underrated, the Intercoastal Waterway along Jacksonville.
Man, I'd have to say the Intercoastal Waterway is definitely underrated. Everyone makes a fuss about the beach and things to do at the beach, but there's so many awesome activities you can do on the Intracoastal. We have like the Tolomato and the how do you pronounce it? The Guana River.
Guana. It's all all.
Yeah. So it's like that whole intracoastal stretch from God knows where. I think north of Mayport all the way down to it keeps going down and down. So it's really nice. You can do so many cool activities, and not only that. You have the boating experiences that you get on the Intracoastal. People make a big fuss about doing, boating activities, fishing out in, open water off of the beaches. But I think off the Intracoastal is awesome. It's quieter. It's nicer. Yeah. Another big thing is you can like kayak on it. Like one of me and Jamie's first dates was to go down the Intracoastal and just kayak. It was a nightmare. I did all the work and, my triceps suffered for it.
They always want to get a double kayak. They never want to get a single, right?
I was pulling her load, dude, for sure, 100%. And not only that, there's some really great restaurants that are along the Intracoastal Waterway that,
for sure,
get outshined by restaurants out of the beaches or out at the St. John's Town Center. But like for example, Valley Smoke. If you're gonna barbecue, that's like my number one. Technically, it's Ponte Vedra, but we'll adopt it part of Jacksonville, Duval County, baby. Let's go. Yeah. It's close enough.
Yeah. Well, also, just talking about like the St. John's River, going through Jacksonville, like that's awesome,
Huge.
And like they have big boat parades going down there a lot.
Yeah.
And then just in terms of like the fishing and everything out there is great.
Charter boats, you can do like charter boats along the, anywhere along the river that they part from like downtown. If you want to go with a group of people, that's always fun. Go drinking, get some.
And the affordability of homes on the water, it's really not that bad.
It's really not. You're faring way better getting a home off of the Intracoastal, or maybe not even off of the Intracoastal necessarily, but off of a tributary of the Intracoastal than you are ever going to be at the beach. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just makes more sense if you want more, privacy and a little bit more peacefulness.
Yeah, you still get the water. You got the water, and you got like a little bit of boat access. That to me is like best of both worlds, right? Because you can just to me.
Your grandma has a home right on the Intracoastal, right?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it was awesome. You guys took us out.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we gotta do it again because we unfortunately got rained out for that, and it was we were trying to make a whole day out of it, but didn't.
It was still fun though. Other than the fact that the boat lift pooped out on us. Halfway through.
the odd saying or the old saying of happiest day of boat owner is the day they buy it, the day they sell it, because it's like just end up spending so much money. That was a big bill, man.
Yeah.
They had to fix all the electrical going from my grandma's house to the dock. And that's paid, but it's definitely not something I wanted to pay. Yeah, so that sucks. All right, next one. And this one I think is really important, especially if people are looking to buy, invest, I guess sell too if they're, if they are watching this. But overrated, underrated, the north side and the west side of Jacksonville, Duval County.
There's only one answer to that, and it's underrated. The north side and the west side of Jacksonville gets slept on a lot because it's funny that we call the south side. The south side is actually geographically more like the east side of Jacksonville, but it's just all clumped together. Anything on the east side of the St. John's River gets kind of conglomerated into, that's the south side, right? So we call that south side Jacks. Everything on the other side is either north side or west side, right? A little funny how it works. But it's so slept on because everyone fixates on the east side of the river where south side is. And yeah, it's a great area. I live in that area, right? But there's so much affordable housing going up, not only going up, but historically has always gone up over on the west side and on the north side, right? I have family members who live on the west side. I have family members who live on the north side as well. And whenever I go visit, I'm always seeing developments out there, new construction homes being built out. And that's honestly where you're going to see the bulk of new construction in Jacksonville is going to be those areas, the north side and the west side of Jacksonville, because the south side of Jacksonville, there's not a whole lot of land to build massive communities anymore. All the space has kind of been taken up for the most part, aside from like places like Seven Pines where they just started building, that out over there where the A.C. Skinner family kind of has that land owned. So if you're looking for an affordable house, new construction, don't mind the commute. I mean, in these days, commuting is less of an issue anyway because you have a lot of jobs nowadays that are working from home. Yeah. So living on the north side of Jax, where before it may have been a problem for you because if you had to commute, you're commuting to downtown or Southside Boulevard or something like that, that is a hefty commute. And that's something to consider if you're buying out on the north side or the west side. If you got to go over the Buckman Bridge to get to work, a lot of traffic, less so much of a problem nowadays, which only more incentivizes people to want to buy houses over in those areas because new construction, more affordable, don't have to commute. Like,
yeah.
Are there any negatives,
Yeah, well, and it's like, all right, so you want more land, you want more space between your home, you want to go to the west side or the north side, Yeah. If you want that lower price, you're going up there. And then also what we talked about in the last pod, they have the naval base out there too. Yep. So really, in terms of like the market, it's a big naval base, and a lot of those buyers are going towards that new construction community. And when they have to buy, they have to sell. They have to.
Absolutely.
It's not something they really have control over because they have the orders. So it's like in terms of the market, where it can go from today. I mean, it almost feels like, man, is that the bottom?
Yeah.
Really in terms of Duval County, because just how things have grown so much. And yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that. A lot of good stuff happening in the north side, the west side. I mean, and would you consider it's almost the west side, right? Would you consider like Murray Hill part of the west side?
Yeah, I mean,
north side.
I think in general people call the west side. There is technically also an east side of Jacksonville, but most of the time you're either talking about the north side, the west side, or the south side. So Murray Hill probably falls within the west side area.
Yeah, and that's an area me and Maya were talking about buying in.
Yeah,
because we saw what was happening there, and like it's got a cool main street, and things are starting to change, and it's like, well, maybe
it's like Riverside 2.0.
Yep, that's a good way to put it. Yep, I like that. All right, this one's a funny one. Overrated, underrated pickup trucks.
I did this one on purpose, everyone. Thomas just bought a pickup truck recently.
Yeah, it's sick.
Overrated, underrated. I'd say pickup trucks are overrated. Mm-hmm. But I'm not talking about your pickup truck.
I know
your pickup truck is nice. I like your pickup truck. It's more conventional because it's not some obnoxiously large, Ram 3500 diesel truck that's like super lifted. That's more so kind of what I'm talking about. Those trucks are just overrated, man. I see so many people. Listen, I understand the fact that people have the need for trucks. There's utility in buying big honky-tonk trucks and everything, lifting them up.
Yeah.
Heavy-duty lifting, carrying a lot of load.
Yeah.
Towing things like that. Do you answer this for me, right? For my peace of mind. Do you think what percentage of people out there who drive those trucks do you think actually use them for work or you utilize them in that way?
I would say less than 10%. 90% of these big truck drivers, they got soft hands.
Thank you.
They're not working hard on anything.
I'm not crazy, ladies and gentlemen.
No,
I'm not crazy.
Not at all. It's kind of like the F-150 has kind of become like the truck that people in our area own, or the F-350, and take my brother-in-law, Brandon, they bought a truck. He's a traveling nurse, so they used it to tow the RV, but then they kept it for a while after they stopped traveling, and they stopped using the RV, and they kept it, and they were like, oh, well, we like it. And then they don't use it for anything, nothing. They're not pulling anything. They're not loading anything up. But anymore, I think it's a luxury vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, these days it is, right?
Yeah.
Because there's an aesthetic that comes with a new pickup truck now. It's where it's like people aren't necessarily buying them for the utility that a truck like that would bring them. Yeah. They're buying it for that luxury aspect, right? Because it's like I want this car because I like it. And that's fine. I'm just saying, it's overrated. I'm just saying there's better, more luxurious cars that have better utility, more space.
It's the common man's, realtor BMW, the white BMW for the realtor, it's the common man's that, they're picking up these massive trucks with also, massive payments. No one talks about that, but everyone's got a new truck in our area, a new car. And it's I priced it out for myself before I bought my 99 Tacoma, you know? Easily $1,000 a month for the base model, a $50,000 truck. Those trucks, the 350s, you're talking $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 for those trucks. So it's all right, that's $2,000 a month.
Exactly. And if you haven't, listen to me, y'all. If you haven't bought a home yet, please do not go get a $1,000 a month car payment.
No.
If you have not bought a home yet, if you haven't purchased your first house and you have $1,000 in new car payments.
Yeah.
We got priorities to sort there. I promise you.
Depreciating asset, appreciating asset. Drives me nuts. Like, all right, so short story. I had someone that reached out and he worked in a restaurant, and like I was talking about the market and how the market's continuing to go up, and he was talking shit. You know, he was like, "Oh, dude, it's a bad investment. You shouldn't do that." You know, and he's a smart guy. I'm not saying that he works in a restaurant, but like that makes him not a smart person. He was a smart guy, invests in stocks and everything. Now he works as a car salesman and he's selling people cars. And it's like
the irony.
Yeah, and it's like I almost want to message him like, dude, like you're setting people up. Like, you know, like you're selling people a car. With the interest rates right now are crazy for cars, just like they are on mortgages, right? But literally once you drive it off the lot, you lost money, you know, and they're selling, you know, the payment for these people, they're buying a brand new car. Even if you're buying like a $35,000 car, which is pretty much the bottom of what new cars cost
Exactly. Back in the day, that was like, ooh, $35,000. I'm getting a good car,
you know?
A
nice car. Yeah. Now that's like your basic car. Maybe you're getting like a Honda Civic, you know, or a Toyota Corolla.
Yep.
And that's going to cost you like, you know, depending on your down payment, probably like $600 to $700 a month, you know, after insurance and everything too.
Easily.
Like that's a huge chunk. So it's like, if you're really trying to be financially smart, look at that. Buy a car cash, you know, buy a car for whatever your down payment would be on a new car, and then worry about a house, something that's going to appreciate in value, you know, instead of, you know, what I did is I bought a 99 Tacoma, right? That truck's actually appreciating in value because it's so freaking old, you know, and hopefully I run into the dirt and I don't have any problems. But, you know, that's also a risk that I'm willing to take. You know, the math for me is like, I can put $10,000 into this truck every single month or every single year, and I'm still going to be in the green because I'd pay $1,000 a month for a new truck.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
So either way.
Another thing, just as a disclaimer, Thomas, he does use his truck to its fullest utility. He's got beach bikes, mountain bikes over here he tows in the back bed of his truck and everything. And plus, his truck is a lot smaller than some of these big.
Yeah.
99 Tacoma. It's like a single cab with like, you know, these slim back seats that literally a small child could fit into. So it's not like this ginormous, you know, monster truck driving on the road or anything. So.
No, it's really small, and I mean it works for what I need. You know, it's not anything crazy, but it looks like the baby of a F350. Let's go on to the next one here. Oh, you know what? Wait, what about? So now we're talking about pickup trucks. Let's talk about the Paceline.
Oh my gosh!
You know?
Don't get me started. It's dumb.
Yeah. Okay.
It's stupid. It looks dumb. I don't care.
Can you explain it a little bit?
Paceline. This is funny you call it the Paceline. I had actually I have never heard of the Paceline, but I know exactly what you're talking about when you were talking about pickup trucks and segued into Paceline. I was like, oh, he's talking about those trucks that are dipped down where the ass of the truck is like lowered and the front of the truck is like lifted or not lifted, but it's slanted.
Yeah.
It's dumb. It's dumb. That cannot be mechanically good. Like, you have your differential back there in the back, and like I just can't imagine that it always being sloped at like a 30-degree angle is good for the differential with that fluid going in and out of it.
No, that's what a lot of mechanics say is like, just like think about where your oil's sitting in the truck. Like it's meant to sit like this, you know, it's not meant to sit like this. But either way, apparently that comes from back in the day. They used to run, you know, they said you could tell either it was a moonshine or drugs or whatever was being transported on a truck because of how weighted the back of it was. Yeah. Right. So then it created that Paceline, right? So I don't know if that's
and I gotta say, I don't think any of you guys who do that, you don't look as cool as you think you look. I promise you.
we're all making fun of you. 100% we're making fun of you. That you're not cool. Let's go to the next one now. Overrated, underrated pool homes. That's an interesting one.
Overrated.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. The Florida boy is telling you that pool homes are overrated. This is because, I mean, there's just so much maintenance involved with maintaining a pool that a lot of people just aren't aware of. It just costs more to run it and keep it clean and maintain it and have someone to do it for you if you don't do it yourself. And it's just kind of a headache. It's kind of like what you brought up earlier about the boat. Like, you know, the day that makes you, it's the happiest you've ever been is when you get rid of it. Yeah. The pool is similar in the regards where like there's a lot of maintenance that is involved with it that you don't expect up front. You know, when you're buying a home, you're buying the pool home. You're like, oh yeah, you got rose, you know, tinted goggles. It was so awesome. Pool home, Florida, great. Us and the kids are gonna have a blast. You use it like once or twice a year, and you're paying for it for the whole year. You know, so. I mean, in that regard, I'd say pool homes are overrated. Not to say that you can't enjoy a nice pool and they are awesome. They do, And another thing is like pool, as real estate agents, we know that pools are not a one-to-one value increase investment when you add them onto your home,
Well, right now they are kind of.
I don't know. Have you seen how much it costs to have a pool?
That's what I'm saying.
Getting a quote at Nocatee, for example.
Yeah.
Recently, it's not even a big house. It's not even a huge pool. It was kind of like a medium-sized pool.
Mm-hmm.
Already had lanai. Yep, $100,000.
$100K, yeah.
$100K for a pool.
That's like if you look at, and I'm working with someone looking for a pool home right now, like especially in that luxury end, like when you're going north of 700, those homes are going quick.
Yeah.
Quick. And it's crazy. Like I was looking at comps. I just put an offer in for a $800,000 house. And we were looking at comps, and it was like day on market for like a home that was priced correctly, looks fantastic, move-in ready, beautiful pool, everything. 17 days.
That's really good.
Yeah, that's
really
crazy.
good for that price point.
And that's the other thing too, is like, so if you look at homes like where they don't have a pool, they're taking a little bit longer to sell. But like everything you said makes sense. I agree with you there. I just think in terms of right now, you also got to factor in the time and money and energy that goes into getting a pool built.
Yeah.
Right? Because we've seen so many horror stories about that.
Absolutely. Well, I'd say we were both right on our points in the sense that when you have a pool home, or let's say you build a pool onto your home, right? It does absolutely help it sell faster. Mm-hmm. So you're correct there. But I'm also correct in the sense that whatever you paid for that pool is not necessarily going to be a translation dollar to dollar increase in value on your home when you sell it.
Yeah, of course, there's a whole bunch of factors that go into that. But
exactly.
I was just saying, like, so factor in your time and money and hassle when you're building a pool right now, like,
and the actual money that goes into building it.
I've seen, and that's straight cash money too.
Yeah, cash.
Right? So a lot of that times you're buying a pool home, you can finance it, so you're financing the whole parcel with the pool on it, right? Yep. Opposed to coming out $100,000 for cash for your pool, so. Pros and cons, right?
Pros and cons. Gotta wait. I love pools though. Pools, when they're not mine.
Yeah, right. I love going to my friend's pool. Yeah. Well, and if you're not in a community that doesn't have a pool, that is a nice little thing.
Absolutely.
If you got kids.
Absolutely. But I think most, especially what you see a lot in St. Johns County is St. Johns County does a really good job as far as like their new construction communities almost always have a pool.
Yeah.
You're really not going to see a new construction community, or even if it's not new construction, a community in general that doesn't have a community pool, in St. Johns County. Duval is a little bit different. It's hit or miss depending on the side of town you're on, how old the community is, but yeah.
It goes back to the master plan community thing, like the size of the community. Mm-hmm. But the one good thing, if you are looking to swim, year round, you can do it.
Yeah. Hey, we got the Intracoastal, baby. Yeah, like I said, very underrated. S free 99, my friend.
You could do that. Yeah.
I don't think you'd want to go in there though. There might be some gators snapping at you.
Yeah, pass. Yeah. That's a pass for me. All right, we got some for me.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. Here we go. So overrated, underrated, appraisers.
Oh my God. Overrated. And their profession, I think AI is going to take over it eventually, because a lot of appraisers do desktop appraisals. They won't even go to the property.
Most of them do exactly that, or drive-by appraisals.
And it's a racket. It really is. And a lot of people don't realize that it's a racket, because appraisers essentially control their own market, right? Yeah. They don't have to answer really to anyone either. No. So like if there's an issue with the contract, they won't even talk to you on the freaking phone about like value, right? So I just had an appraisal come in short over here in West Augustine, a row of new construction homes. There's 7 new construction homes in the same, right next to each other. And they took comps from a mile away, opposed to using the past sales of the new construction homes right next door.
Yeah.
So it underappraised. Even though the home right next door sold for $324, the home right next door to that sold for $325, it underappraised. And it was like, in what world are you looking, and then you call and you send them emails and you dispute the appraisal, and they don't have the courtesy to call you back.
No.
And the problem that I have with appraisers and the business of appraisers is that they don't have to answer to anyone. And also, like, to become an appraiser, you need you need more training and hours than you do for a realtor, right? I think it's like you need
extensive.
Like 150 hours or something like that under an appraiser. And that's also a problem too, is
apprenticeship, right?
Yeah, like a apprenticeship or a mentorship of someone. Well, if I'm an appraiser and I want to keep making all the money, well, I'm not going to get an apprentice. I'm not going to get a mentor or a mentee, because I'm going to keep all that money to myself. If I'm going to have a mentee, then I have to cut them off a little bit of chunk of every appraisal. So that keeps the appraiser market very, very tight, and it's difficult to get into. And it's referenced almost like it's an old boys club, you know, like where it's like you got to know someone to get in there. And it's like, all right, so if that's how that system's set up, and you're going to go ahead and mess up deals when you're like for me, that blew my mind over there. And I wanted to call up, like we're actually trying to get this guy off the appraisal management board that this company had because of how much he messed up. He even marked on there that it was a 55 plus community.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's like, dude.
And that's why that's the biggest problem with these, you know, desktop appraisals, because they're going to make mistakes like that. And then a lot of times you have an appraisal, they don't have to answer to nobody.
There's no
right?
accountability.
So it's like, even if they know that they're wrong, even if they don't know that they're wrong, but they are wrong, they just did the appraisal on their desktop. You know, they didn't go to the property, they didn't see the area, nothing like that.
Yeah.
And they made their assessment. And if they're wrong, you know, there's no one to hold them accountable, because at the end of the day, their word goes, you know?
Yep.
And that's unfortunate.
And in that instance, right, 7 new construction homes in a row, a desktop appraisal would make sense, right? They're the exact same house, right next to each other, all in a row. They've all sold within the past couple months. You don't need to go out. You look at the pictures, you look at the home right next door, but this guy took a comp 1.5 miles away. And it's like, that's not even in the appraisal standards. It's within a mile. I was upset, to say the least, because...
And not only that, there's like 3 different schools of valuation as an appraiser.
Yeah.
So it's like they might go with like the, you know, the cost approach or the comparison approach. I can't remember the exact terminology, but there's 3 different approaches to evaluating the properties, and not every appraiser may use the same approach, you know?
Yeah, I think you're right on 2 of them. I think, and the last one is income approach. So like they look at like an investment or like not an investment, but like a multifamily, like how much money are they making on it, you know?
Right.
So either way, definitely overrated. I think that because of how their hiring works as appraisers, because
there's not enough of them as well.
That's the problem, is because they all just like, hey, I'm going to keep making all the money.
I mean, look at you know, the craziness of the market in the past, you know, the prior 2-3 years. You know, we had a shortage of appraisers, and appraisers were getting out into properties in 45, 60 days when before they're getting out there in 15 days or less. You know?
Exactly, and that's not okay. You know, and it either way, they're definitely overrated, and I don't see them weathering the AI storm like realtors will.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do a desktop appraisal, then it might as well be AI, right? Because you know, there's what human subjectivity at that point do you need? You know,
none.
There you go.
Yeah, it's trash.
Trash.
Yeah, trash. Get rid of them.
All right, next one on the list: overrated, underrated. Disney.
Oh, okay. Definitely overrated.
Well, let me let you clarify. Disney, like the company, Disney, like World, or what are we talking about Disney here?
Disney World, yeah. Okay. So, I mean, no, I think Disney right now with like all the Star Wars stuff, I'm digging it. You know,
super cool. I still haven't been. I can't wait to go.
I haven't been to. So I went initially when they first opened it, and this is 6 years ago now. So, but I want to go again and see that. But like, I think it's overrated. Like I have a friend, he's coming from Pennsylvania, and he's going to spend 10 days at Disney, and he doesn't have kids, by the way. And I'm just like, are you a psychopath? Like, do you want to set yourself up for something like that? It sounds awful.
Oh,
you know,
my
like
God.
Literally.
Do you need that many days for Disney? I feel like you could do it in 1 or 2 days, like
exactly.
2 days max.
Exactly. And like after 2 days walking around Disney, you're exhausted. You know,
you're like, I'm over it now.
Yeah, 100%. And you're standing in line, and even like the fast pass and like how you have to schedule things for Disney. You literally have to schedule your day at Disney months in advance. Yeah. Like where you're scheduling, okay, I'm going to go on this ride at 10:30.
Is that what they do? They like, you have to schedule it now? Mm-hmm. Because I used to like the fast pass, like for example, Islands of Adventure or Universals. They used to have like a fast pass. If you stayed at like the Hard Rock, you get a like automatic fast pass, or you just go on the fast pass line. You have it in the fast lane or whatever. That's how. I mean, I'm sure there's some explanation why it's better or some sort, but I don't know.
I think anymore that like the fast, so I think the fast pass is along with the scheduling where everyone else is just in line. Yeah. So it's like, in order for you to make the most of your day, if you're going for 1 or 2 days, you got to do the fast pass. You got to schedule things out. Yeah, dude. Because then you're going to be standing in line all freaking day
You're going to get 2 rides if you're in the regular line, you know?
Exactly. And you're going to be, you know, depending when you go, you're going to be out in the Florida sun, you know? So it could be 90 degrees outside, sun beating on you.
I don't see how that's enjoyable.
It's not. It's not. And like, if you have, it's a good experience, right? But if you don't have kids and you're going constantly, like I don't get it, you know? But if you have kids, I could see where it's definitely a good time, you know? Yeah. But in terms of the price too, I mean, 10 days, like like the reason it came up, I was like, hey, you know, I'd love for all of us to have like a Euro trip next year and be able to go, you know, do a Euro trip with all of our friends and do something cool. And he's like, sorry, I can't, I'm going to Disney. And I was like, dude, Disney, like, what do you mean? Like, you've been there last year. And like his girl and him go every other year, right?
Like, dude, it hasn't changed since last time.
It's the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing. And it's like, besides that 10 days at Disney, you're talking like $10,000. Like, easy. Like, that's a lot of freaking money. Like, so either way, I think it's overrated. I think it's cool if you have kids, but for just your regular person that lives here in the area, like, it's a place.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. I
see it once and you're done.
But it is like, you know, if you do like to frequent Disney, you know, and you live in Florida, that's, you know, you got a little discount, a little resident discount there going.
Yeah.
Annual passes and things like that. So, all right, let's see. Overrated, underrated. Okay, so I asked you this, or you asked me this one earlier, the Intracoastal.
So the Intercoastal, well, more St. Johns County, I think is definitely underrated.
Yeah.
Because well, one, just like the local fishing in the area, and that's something that is definitely underrated. And we've said on this in the videos before, like how Bass Pro is going to be opening up on the St. Johns River. Now it's not the Intercoastal, but on the St. Johns River, they're going to be opening up a huge luxury resort out there in Welaka, and it's like, I think it's 4,200 acres, rivals the size of Disney. And then in the Intercoastal, you have access to the ocean. You can get out to the ocean real easy. There's also a ton of fishing spots, a ton of sandbars you can just pull your boat up on and just hang out, which is a really nice feature and something I never even thought of until we were out on the boat. I'm like, oh man, that's cool. Someone's doing that. Like, that's a great idea, you know? And also with that, as long as you're in the water, you can drink, right? So it's like, if you're on the land, you're not allowed to have alcohol. But if you're in the water, it's different. I don't make sense. I don't know, but you know, that's another bonus of the Intercoastal. So if you're into deep sea fishing, that's really great because you can just go right. Like, one of my buyers bought in St. Augustine South, and he was like, I'm surprised no one talks about this, that you can there's 2 boat ramps in St. Augustine South. You get right out into the water, and then you can go out into the Atlantic Ocean within a couple of minutes, really, maybe a 10-minute boat ride from St. Augustine South. And you go deep sea fishing. You know, like, and that's something that no one talks about. And it's very, you'll see in the morning, all these boats just they're all going one way, and that's right out into the ocean. So it's, I think it's underrated for sure. Yeah.
It definitely seems like the Intracoastal, where, you know, in St. Augustine, at least, the distance between the Intracoastal and, you know, getting out to the Atlantic Ocean is a lot shorter than compared to, like, if it was, you know, Jacksonville Beach or something like that, because you got to kind of go roundabout where the St. Johns River outlets, where, you know, the base is and everything. So definitely more efficient, I guess, like, distance wise to get out to the ocean from St. Augustine's Intracoastal area.
I agree.
And not only that, like, it's kind of a feature of St. Augustine, right? The Intracoastal is kind of like, it is like part of St. Augustine in the sense that it's such a staple of it, because you know, you have the Intracoastal Waterway, and you have like the Bridge of Lions, for example, that gets you from, you know, historic downtown St. Augustine over to the other side. And you also have, you know, Volano Beach over there off of the Intracoastal. Like, one side is Intracoastal and the other side is Volano Beach. And there's all those cool little restaurants where you can drive your boat up onto and dock them at, like, Caps on the Water and things like that. So it's a huge part of St. Augustine.
And it's a pretty sight too. I mean, when you're coming in, like, we went fishing 2 months ago or something like that, and when you're coming in, you know, and let's say you go fishing under the Volano Bridge there, you're coming towards downtown St. Augustine, like, you're seeing this is what I think of because I love history, but you're seeing, like, what people saw essentially when they came into historic downtown St. Augustine with the Castillo de San Marcos there and the waterfront and all the colonial quarter buildings there. Like, it's cool, you know. And I just think, like, man, imagine coming in on a 1700s regular ship. I don't know what they would call it, but I almost said a pirate ship, but something like that, you know. Coming in like that and seeing that, like, that would just be, and it's relatively the same, you know, from what it was 300, 400 years ago. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Overrated, underrated, local fishing.
Local fishing, so touch on that a little bit. I think it's also underrated, you know. Not that I'm learning all this now, but there's so many little spots that you can go to just to grab, like, some really good local fishing and have this sounds like I don't know all the fish's names, but like red snapper and mahi mahi.
Nemo.
Yeah, Nemo. Yeah, like whatever you call them. But like they have a kingfish tournament, they have a bass fishing tournament.
Yeah.
And like I said, on the St. Johns River, you have the luxury resort going in by Bass Pro.
Yep.
And they have a competition every
single year. Yeah.
So and that brings a ton of people in. And like if you own a boat and you're doing competitive fishing, you make a good bit of money. So. Yeah, in order to have one of those boats, I mean, some of those engines are like $100,000. Crazy.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. And some of the boats, I mean, even more than that. So yeah, I think it's definitely underrated, and that's why Bass Pro is coming, and they're going to be building up, Weelaka area in the St. Johns River, and we're going to see more and more of that. And I think we're going to see more people relocate to the area specifically because of that.
I hope so. I definitely see that on the horizon. It's going to be interesting to see how that fleshes out.
Yeah.
All right, next one. Last one, actually. Overrated, underrated, West Augustine.
Now, I'm biased.
All right. Yeah, this guy's biased over here.
Yeah, I'm biased on that. But West Augustine is definitely underrated. If you, just from my experience living here, right? Like, I'm right off of King Street. I can be downtown in a 2-minute drive.
Yep.
I can run downtown, like go on a jog. I can walk downtown within 25 minutes. We walked to Sing Out Loud Festival the other weekend, which was like a month ago. Which I think is amazing. Within the past year, a buyer asked me this the other day. They're like, hey, like how many businesses have opened up on West King? And just like me thinking, I was able to name 5 different businesses that have opened within the past year that are pretty cool businesses, So like Muggsy's Bar opened up over there. I think it's called The L, is like a little clothing store. There's like Coastal Hammock, I think is like it's like a modern coastal, like get your furniture and plates and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they're opening a bonsai garden right here on West King, which is going to be
cool.
Really interesting. Yeah, I don't know how well that's going to do.
That's such
or
a
anything.
hipster move.
Yeah, 100%. That's going to change. Sailbird Distillery just opened, so it's like a cocktail spot. They're supposed to open up a pizza place, Dynamo Pizza. That hasn't opened yet, but it's supposed to open. And yeah, so there's just so much going on in this west side here, and we're seeing zoning variances, like the orange signs pretty much everywhere around here. So yeah, I'm a big fan of what's going on here in West Augustine, and it's very similar to what Lincolnville was.
Yeah.
If you go to Lincolnville and you see what Lincolnville was, like West Augustine is what Lincolnville was, but is now starting to change and pick up a little bit. Every corner on every street, and this is not an exaggeration, this is the truth, because I walk around all over here, I drive around all over here. New construction house, all over the place.
Yeah.
And they're at an affordable price, right? You're looking at most new construction over here no HOA or anything, between $300,000 and $400,000 for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And you have like you're 15 minutes to the beach, you're 5 minutes to downtown St. Augustine, you're 10 minutes to the amphitheater. Like everything is so close. Like for me to go to the gym, the grocery store, all that kind of stuff, all within 5-10 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, West Augustine has been slept on. I think people are starting to wake up to that.
Yeah.
As you said, there's so much new construction going on in the area and going up. And that only means good things for the development of the community and bringing more people, more residents into the area.
Yep.
Therefore more businesses, more livelihoods here. So we should see that expand. We should see at least a lot more expansion across the other side from Phillips Highway over here into West Augustine.
Yeah. And I mean, we're already in the middle of
the
that.
Train station.
That's definitely going to be huge. Yeah, the parking garage is going up there, right?
Yep.
That's going to happen. The train station looks like still going to get approved, but hasn't been fully pushed forward.
I'm sure it'll take some time on that one.
Yeah, it's going to be a 10-year project.
Yeah,
that's what they said initially.
Absolutely.
But even over here, like you can see there's so much vacant land too, comparatively to the island, comparatively to like further south on US 1. Like there's vacant land all through here, you know? And that's also why you're seeing a lot of new construction. So definitely underrated.
There you go. West Augustine, baby. All right. So we talked about this in the intro of the video, how we're going to go over kind of like the concept of like conflicting information when it comes to real estate, because like you said, for example, when you talk to your buddy at the restaurant, he was like, it's a bad time to buy, it's the worst investment and things like that. And you hear a lot of conflicting information when it comes to the real estate market. So let's get into that a little bit.
Yeah. And just to add that was probably like 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago. And our market appreciated like probably 10% in that time. So it's like, if you would have listened to him, you would be at a higher price point now looking to buy a home, and you'd at a higher interest rate. So it's like congratulations. You know, I'm not saying I'm like the expert. I know what's going on. No one knows what's happening in the future, right?
Right. But the idea that, I mean, if it's just like stocks, right? You only lose if you withdraw the money. If you realize your gain, if you realize your profits, then that's when you're going to lose out if you're in the negative, right? Mm-hmm. So for example, I'm under contract right now helping my buyer purchase a home that the original sellers bought that house in 2007. Mm-hmm. So right when the peak of the market before the crash, they bought that house for $310,000. We're under contract for a lot more than that now. Mm-hmm. They bought it at the peak, mind you.
Can you give us a ballpark? You know, just a little ballpark equity.
So they're making $70,000 in equity, like not net to their pockets. They'll pay out commissions and things like that, but. Yeah. $70,000. And that was when they bought, that's the peak of the market back in 2007 before the crash.
Yeah.
So if they had sold any time between, then and, when it wasn't in a positive equity, they would have lost out. Yeah. But the point is that it will appreciate. It will get to the point where you have equity. Yeah. That's the idea of an investment. You're only losing. It's only a bad investment when you withdraw it, when you sell it before it realizes that you can have profit on that property.
And hindsight is 2020, right? So it's like, given that knowledge, you could have bought a house in 2008 and still be fine, right? And it's like, as long as you're making your payments and everything, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of crazy thing is like, all right, so they bought in 2007, 2008 happens, 2009, people are like, man, I can't believe you did that, you idiot. You know, I can't believe you bought a house at the worst time possible, but it's like, all right, well now, like they've been living in that house for so long, probably the payment that they had was much less considerable to like the rent around here at that time.
For sure.
For all that time. So no one's factoring in that as well. They've also had a home that they could make changes to and upgrade and do whatever they got to do. And now they're moving into it. I'm guessing they're buying a new spot. Yeah. They're using the equity that they have to be able to put a down payment. And now they're getting something maybe a little bit bigger, a little bit better. I don't know. You'd be better to tell me that. But, that's just how the market works, right? If you're in real estate for the short game, then you're probably going to lose, right? Unless you're flipping a house.
Yeah, if you're flipping houses, you're a day trader. Like if I'm going to make an analogy, you're a day trader. You're doing things on a quick timeline basis, right? You're going to see how quickly you can flip that dollar. Mm-hmm. With real estate, it's a long game thing, for the most part. Most people aren't flipping houses, Mm-hmm. Most people aren't going for the short gains, the short quick gains. Most people are buying a house because they need a place to live. Yep. And most people don't even look at it as really an investment all that much. Most people aren't looking at it like, oh man, if I buy now, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna be in negative 12% compared to if I buy it in, a year from now. No one's looking at it like that. Everyone's like, I can afford a house. Yep. I need a place to live. Yep. I'll buy that house. As long as they can afford the payment, I mean, is it really a bad investment at the end of the day? I don't think so. I really don't think so.
Well, and I think that's also the other thing is like you're paying a rent or you're paying a mortgage, right?
Yeah,
either way,
exactly.
Right? And it's like if you're looking to spend less than 5 years in a house, probably not a good time for you to buy a house, right? If you're looking to buy a house for you to like grow your family or like to establish or grow roots or whatever that is, you're gonna be fine. And that's like historically, you can look at the appreciation of homes over all the things that have happened, in the past 100 years, right? Mm-hmm. Whether that's like depressions or war or whatever, and homes have always appreciated. The graph is like this.
Yeah.
It's not
solid.
Like up and down and up and down. On the short time, if you break it down into like a 6-month time frame, 100% you're going to see that.
Down,
peaks
ups and
valleys.
Downs. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. But the general trend is always up.
And right now, just to... You see so many conflicting stories, right? Like Jamie Dimon just came out and said that this is going to be a horrible time for buyers to buy. Then you have Barbara Corcoran coming online saying like, hey, like if you're not buying a house right now, you're going to be feeling pretty sore when interest rates go down, because once they do, then the market's going to go back on fire. It's going to appreciate. And you have all these like bigger names like, who's that? Dave Ramsey. Ramsey. There you see that audio going through social media like, if you like the house, buy the house, and then if you don't, then when the interest rates come down, refinance.
The whole refinance meme.
Yeah, and there's a lot of truth to that, right?
Sure.
There's a lot of truth to that, but at the same time, it's got to be the right decision for you. We're not putting guns to anyone's head telling them to buy a house. People need to buy and sell and invest based on their lifestyle.
Yep.
And that's what we're doing.
If I can sell you on a house and you're like not even close to being on the fence about it, then I need to be selling more houses like that because I make a lot of money selling people houses that way.
Yeah.
Most people are buying houses because they need to buy a house. They want to buy a house. They want to move somewhere else.
Yep.
They got a job relocation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it really, at the end of the day, these clickbait headlines that you'll see like on TV or on like social media, like Facebook articles, they're so clickbaity and so polarizing. Like it's either the market is going to crash tomorrow or this is the best time ever to buy. You'll literally see that those two articles like right scrolling down on the phone, one right after the other. It's like, okay, which one is it?
Yeah.
Right? And the answer is it's neither or. It's like it depends on what you're looking for, you know?
It's the fear of missing out.
Maybe a bad time for, someone who's trying to flip. Maybe it's a great time for someone just looking to buy a home and live there for 10 years. It just really depends on the needs of the person who's being the consumer of that particular product, the product being real estate.
Yeah. No, and they're selling the fear, right? That's it. The fear of missing out and the fear of the market crash, right?
Yeah.
And, we're beating a dead horse when we're talking about this, but inventory is still low.
Yep.
Especially we're still not at the pre-2020 levels of inventory, right? And pre-2020, our market was appreciating. We were in a seller's market.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we still have so much more room to go to get to that point to where we're in a technical buyer's market. But even today, and this is just at least what I'm experiencing, is that because of all the headlines, sellers don't have as much pull as they used to, right? Even though we're 100% in a seller's market, depending on looking at all the stats and the inventory and all that kind
By
of stuff.
By definition, seller's market, less inventory for buyers out there that need to buy. So,
but the negotiation room, because how quickly things have changed, sellers have to adjust to that, right? So like interest rates went up drastically over the past year and a half, right?
Yep.
Sellers have to adjust to that, and they have to be willing to give concessions to people, which is like technically in a seller's market, like you're looking at 2021, like it's like, hey, you want the house or you don't. If you don't want the house, you're not going to overpay me for it, then you're not getting it.
Exactly.
And now it's like, hey, there's not as many offers on the table. Demand is definitely, because there's people that were on the fence that got kicked off the fence because of interest rates, but there's still people that need to buy, want to buy. They have a lot more wiggle room. And now we're seeing inventory tick up slightly because we are going into the winter months, right? It's typically not the hottest time to buy a home.
Right.
Going to be moving right before Thanksgiving, right before the holiday season. So you do have more options, right? But you also have more negotiation room, with the sellers. So I think that's really important to note.
Absolutely. And again, a lot of just conflicting clickbaity information about the market's either crashing or this is the best market ever. And it's likely the case that if you're reading anything like that, it's just not accurate. It just really depends on who you are and what your needs are.
Yeah. Don't just read the title, right?
Yeah. Don't be one of the people who just like read the title of the article and that's all the information that you've extrapolated from it. Actually read the article, please, because most of the time the headline is actually just not even close to what the actual material of the article is trying to say.
That's so true. I hate that. Yeah.
I know. It's annoying.
But don't listen to your keyboard warrior friends on Facebook, that think they know everything, So
I think that's a huge problem with real estate in general and kind of like the perception of that people have towards like people in our profession, because like you said, we in the last episode, I think it was the last episode where we talked about there's so many realtors out there who kind of don't know what they're doing, right? And it gives us kind of like a bad look, a bad public perception. But at the end of the day, you got to find someone who knows what they're talking about and knows the markets that you're looking to buy in, and you should be fine, Yeah. Don't 100%. Be listening to these people who, write articles from Washington or New York or California or Colorado or any of those places. Like, listen to the people who are here on the ground, right? We have our ear to the ground on this stuff.
I had to find the name of the guy, but I think he works for the New York Times. Like a year and a half ago, reached out to me and was like, hey, what's going on? Like, we want to know what's going on in your market, and I want to feature you on my article. And I was hype. I was like, wow, this is amazing. Someone's reaching out to me from the New York Times because they saw my YouTube channel, right? And I sent him what was happening here in the market. And, like, he's, of course, looking for the information that, builders have doubled the inventory. They have homes sitting, all this kind of stuff. And in our market, that's not happening. Yeah. So I sent him all the information. I gave him a detailed article. I tried to do it up, to make sure I get featured, but I didn't align with what he wanted to talk about. So
exactly, media bias.
He didn't use it at all.
He already has a predetermined story of what he wants to write, and he's just looking for the confirmation bias, essentially. What they want to confirm with their own bias and the story that they want to sell. So yeah.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
You see that on
Everything.
every platform of media out
Yeah.
there. It's unavoidable. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I guess we'll get away from the real estate part of it and get into. I don't know too much about it. You have to kind of inform me about it. But there's a state of emergency that was declared by the governor in regards to protesting of the bombing in Israel.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So we all know what's going on with Israel and Hamas, and it's terrible, right? Now I'm not well versed on the history of that at all.
Yeah.
But Ron DeSantis declared a state of emergency for the state of Florida. So like I read that this morning, I'm like, what the heck? Like
what happened?
Yeah, how did we get involved?
The Cuban Missile Crisis. What's going on?
Yeah, like what? Can they got long range missiles like that? Like, dang, Hamas has come a long way. So
they're no longer shooting goats out of a bazooka anymore.
Goats.
Sorry, that was probably really ignorant.
that was funny though. So yeah, I read that, and it's apparently what they want to do is, and it's basically surrounded school campuses, and that's where we're seeing a lot of protests, right?
Yeah.
Typically on the school campuses where you have one either pro-Palestine or pro-Israeli group, and they're fighting on campuses. So the whole state of emergency is more or less, at least that's what they say, sleight of hand. They're talking about something over here, doing something over here. That's my thinking on it. But, I'll put my tinfoil hat on. But that's what they say, is to more or less get more people, more security for those campuses, just to make sure that nothing's happening, and everything's cool. And like, hey, you can protest, you can say your piece and everything, but we don't want any fighting, nothing like that.
Seems pretty logical to me. I mean, I don't know if a state of emergency necessarily. I mean, again, I'm no expert on regional state affairs and how things work on a process level, but
yeah.
I mean, I think in general, it's a good idea to do, making sure everyone's protected and safe, and, like property doesn't get destroyed, etc.
Is that one of the steps he has to take to call in the National Guard, or is like, that's just something like, I'm sure it's not like, hey guys, send me a couple extra people. They probably have to escate it to a certain point, but I don't.
It sounds like the right thing to do from the state's perspective.
But when you read that news story, you're like, oh my God, like what's going on?
State of emergency.
Yeah.
Speaking of the states of emergency, the West Coast hit with some tornadoes recently.
Yeah, well, it's funny how like you didn't even you were like completely unaffected.
We're on the East Coast, baby.
Yeah, well, so it happened on the East Coast too. So
Yeah.
Palm Coast got hit with I think they say ES2 tornado.
Okay.
And so it ripped up through Palm Coast, ripped up a couple homes, and that, to me, like, tornadoes are scarier to me than hurricanes.
Dude,
honestly.
me too. That's probably like one of my childhood fears right there. Biggest childhood fears were tornadoes. I used to always have nightmares
The movie
about
Twister.
Yeah, dude. Dude, wildly scary.
Yeah.
Tornadoes are just freaky to me.
It seems like whereas a hurricane, you can prepare. It's coming. It's you can see it 4 or 5 days.
We don't have basements here. Where are we gonna go?
Yeah, exactly. We don't have the cellar. We can't be like Dorothy and her family.
Yeah, I know.
Like, what are we gonna do? So a tornado comes through, and that's really scary, and it's so quick. Like it happened. Like I didn't even know it happened, but my buddy lives over in Sarasota. He said that he got one of the emergency alerts. He's like, I was about to go to bed, and then I got an emergency alert for a tornado coming through the area, and it's one of those like Amber Alert type of things where it rings through your phone. And he's like, so then I couldn't go to sleep, and then I stood up all night, and like we got a ton of rain here, but we didn't get any sign of a tornado or anything. I slept through the whole night.
Yeah.
I woke up and I looked at my phone and I said, oh my God, tornado through Palm Coast. Oh, unbelievable.
So unprofessional, this guy.
I should have muted my phone. Sorry. But yeah, so tornadoes, I think they're way scarier than hurricanes, and I don't know how you prepare for them. It just kind of
freaky. If you ever see like YouTube videos of like those, F5 tornadoes ripping through the Midwest, it's just the scariest looking thing I've ever seen. Just like picking up a whole house and just throwing it. It's just.
And with hurricanes, they talk about like you're in the eye of the storm, right? But like you don't visually see like what a tornado. You visually see a tornado. You don't visually see a hurricane. You see like the wind and everything.
It's just stormy outside.
It's just stormy outside, right? But like you see a tornado and you're like, oh shit.
And another thing is like if it's nighttime and a tornado's out, you can't see it. Like in daytime you can. Oh, the tornado's over there. But like one really like I guess just freaky, scary aspect of tornadoes is that if they come at night, you don't even see them, and they're just ripping through houses.
Both of us were asleep, when the warning came through. It's like, man, we could have woke up without a roof, or we could have
woke up in a tree somewhere.
I was gonna say woke up dead, but that wouldn't happen, right?
Oh, gosh. Okay, I think we can wrap it up there.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Sounds like we got some good information.
Yeah.
Guys, if you are looking to buy, sell, or invest, whether it's St. Augustine, Jacksonville, really the whole northeastern Florida area, Justin and myself, we got you covered. We're here to help you. All we do is we try to be as transparent as possible, give you the information so that you guys can make an educated decision. So I hope this podcast gave you a little bit of something that you can base your decisions off of. If you have any questions, you have any comments, throw them in the chat below. We'll get to them. We'll answer them as soon as we can. Until next time, guys.
Peace.